Hi, welcome to MediatorPodcast.com, a podcast and video series about mediation, negotiation, and collaboration. My name is Melissa Gragg, and I'm a divorce, valuation, and mediation expert in St. Louis, Missouri. During this episode, we will discuss how to make uncomfortable situations comfortable with Mike Gregory. Mike is a mediator in Minneapolis, Minnesota, author of 13 books regarding various topics about valuation, collaboration, and the creator of the collaboration effect. You have a whole concept called the collaboration effect, and you've written a book about it. And so tell us more about how does that play into this process?
Well, at the start of the book, I actually have a story. And I tell a story about what happens with two different parties. And I won't go into that here now in detail, but essentially, an attorney came to me and is like this with another attorney, and this is what I'm going to do to the other attorney and beat him up, and this is how it's going to go. And he said, well, what can you do for me? I said, if you're going to do that, I can't help you. There's a pause on the other end. And I took him through with the initial element of trying to connect. If you say to the other party, I don't know you, you don't know me. I've done research ahead of time. I've gone on to LinkedIn. I've looked at Google. I've gone on Facebook. I've looked at Reddit. I've looked at different. I've Googled this person. And I've learned some things about that person before I ever call. And then when I call this person, because I know some of these things, I might make a comment about where they went to school. I might make a comment about some hobby that they have or where they live, geography, something. And then I say to them, if we're going to work together, this is a common thing. I really propose this. If we're going to work together, I don't know you, you don't know me. I wonder if I can just learn some things about you. Would you be willing to share some things about you? And I'll share some things about me. What are we doing right now? We're becoming authentic with one another. We're building some trust with one another. So that's the first step. And then once you've done that, you're working, you're connecting, then you're listening to them. We've talked about that a little bit already. And then when you listen to them, then you're going to be educating them. So I talk about, that was the initial phone call from this client. I thought, I don't even know if I have a client. And then they called me back up and they said, Mike, we called them up. We were going to write a 40-page brief on issue number 1. There's an issue number 2. It's a factual issue. But we discussed it in 15 minutes. I didn't have to write it up. That was great. Now we're going to actually get together on issue number 2. And I said on issue number 2, there's a lot that goes into this. And I won't go into all these details, but the nuts and bolts are one of the books that a friend of mine's written. Her name is Erica Garms. She wrote The Brain-Friendly Workplace. She's here in the Twin Cities. She's a neuroscientist graduate from the University of Minnesota. And then she talks about having the right foods. And when I tell these stories, people generally remember not necessarily the story, but they remember the foods part of it. And it's certain foods are really good in this type of a situation. You want antioxidants, so you'd like to have blueberries. You want to have cut up fruit, celery sticks, carrot sticks, peanut butter, dark chocolate. You want to have the right fluids. So minimum water, but in this case, the person said they like Starbucks, so we have Starbucks coffee there. And this attorney was planning to come in with 5 other attorneys. We're going to beat them up, 6 on 1. And I said, no. You're there with one other party, and I want that party to be an engaging party, okay? And when they come in, we're going to break this up into 3 periods. And the first one is just socialization. And you're going to offer the food. They probably won't take any, but I want you to take some. And you're going to offer the beverage. And they'll probably take coffee or water. And then you're just going to do this small talk with this person who already knows a lot because you've taught them. But they're going to work with this person to make them feel very comfortable and be authentic with one another. And then you're going to move into the second stage. That was connecting relationships, which is listening actively. And this is the hard. There are 2 really hard parts on listening actively. One is suspending judgment of those things we just talked about. And the other really hard one is do not offer advice. Okay, you're just there to listen right now. And when you're listening to this other party, what you're doing is you are suspending judgment, which is really hard. And you're also not offering any advice. And it's really hard because you might want to say something like, I think that's really stupid, or I don't agree with that. Let me tell you why you're wrong. All those things when you're
That's impossible. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. All those things, you need to focus yourself. You need to talk to yourself with positive self-talk. Not going there, Mike. Not talking to myself. I use my own name. That's called self-distancing. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Okay. Self-distancing is something that sports psychologists do with athletes.
Okay.
And self-distancing, if LeBron James, professional basketball player, has a bad day, watch how they interview him. LeBron, you were off today. You were whatever, and this and that. And LeBron James will not say, yeah, I had a bad day. Everybody has a bad day. I'll be better next time. He doesn't say that. He says, LeBron had a bad day. LeBron will do better next time. LeBron needs to focus. For whatever reason, I just was not focused. I wasn't myself today. Well, the sports psychologists have taught them if you use your own name, you're now looking at yourself as a third party. You can look at yourself objectively. You won't blame yourself. You won't beat yourself up. Instead, you're looking at it as, yeah, that's something that guy has to do over there. So the same thing in terms of listening, when you think you need to apply judgment, when you think you need to say something, and you think you need to give advice, that's the time you say, for myself, Mike, focus. Don't go there, because right now you really want to listen. And if you listen, once that person has talked it all out, they've said everything they want to say, they now are more receptive to listening to you. So that gets us into the third stage. That's educating judiciously. It's how they want to be educated. Most people, when they educate, they think about, I know all this knowledge, and you want to know everything I know. Well, you know what? They don't. They want to know what they need to know and want to know. And so you, after having listened to them, you need to calm yourself, center yourself again, and now you're going to educate them with what they need to know. And you're going to ask them questions that allow them to say yes.
Okay.
You're going to ask them questions and say, if with this addition, here's some additional information, and do you think that might, if I'm trying to help you go a given direction, do you think that might make you more receptive towards going this direction now that you know that? Yes, it would. Okay, and here's something else that was not brought up previously. Would this help too? And now here's something else, and you're getting them to say yes. You get them to say yes, they're producing certain chemicals and hormones in the brain which make them more receptive to what you're presenting to them. And now once you've connected and you've listened and you've educated them, now you're ready to, you've gone through those three elements. Now you're ready to start the negotiation. And what I have found is you need to present this in a neutral term. So you would come back and say, you initially were at this position. I initially was at this position. You agreed with me on here are these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever number of points that yes, these would tend to make you move more this direction. This is now what I'm thinking. And what do you think? Now you're actually having dialogue. You're now looking at this from some different angles because you presented additional information and presented interests generally on things that may not even have been with the original problem. So most people look at elements of mediation as it's a problem-solving process. I don't. I call it, it's a solution process. What is the difference? The solution is you came in to look at this problem in this way, and this is it. By the time you get done, you've developed a solution that you brought up things and different approaches and elements you never thought about. So I'm not in divorce, but you are. And I'm not into child custody, but you might be as part of what you're doing. And I would come back in on this and I'd say, well, they came in with, I want this in terms of money, I want that in terms of the house or whatever. And I don't know what I'm talking about here, but you do. I'm just standing back. But you get into, what are we going to do about the kids? And what would be in the best interest of our children? And once you start to focus on children rather than the money or the house, you have a whole different perspective. And I just bring that up as a simple example, but sometimes there are many different angles that you can approach. And I've been in meetings with board of directors, Fortune 100 company. And as we're working through some different solutions, and some folks are being pretty hardcore with respect to the other side. And I just asked the question like this. I know this is all confidential, but you have a mission statement, right? You have a vision statement. You have these values up on the wall. Okay. If this were to come out that this is what you had done, how might this be perceived by stakeholders like shareholders? Or how about some of your customers? Or how about your own employees? I'm just asking. I never said, hey, is this ethical? Do you really want to do this? I never said that. I just asked, how might other parties view what you're just proposing here?